Hey, it's Soul. This is Warcraft Weekly, and it's good to be back, at least on like the full screen camera. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me where I'm live. So we gotta talk dates and ask questions because patch 11.2.5 is coming on October 7th, starting off this kind of content train that I don't think is gonna stop until, I don't know, like next April. But it's up to you when you feel like hopping on. So it's official that the Legion remix will start day one of this upcoming patch, plus the extra downtime, of course. The content itself is split into 4 phases, or 5 with this infinite echoes thing, more on that later. But it's very important to point out that throughout the testing of the remix, the notion of time gating, well, it's there, I can't argue that, but it's no longer so simple to just describe it like that. The whole power fantasy and bronze farming can be mostly worked through with some hard grinding straight away, and in theory, by the time each phase rolls out, the super hardcore farmers will be able to blast everything almost straight away. Meanwhile, newcomers who decide to hop in will have some coattails to ride for rewards, and there's going to be a very clear divide between who's been like no life in it and who's just dipping their toes in. Fortunately, the bar for being able to earn all the important rewards, it's not very high anyway. It'll be the people who want to challenge themselves trying to farm up the highest keys possible. They're the ones who's going to really care about hard farming the remix, and I say just let them do their things while the rest of us help each other out with like mythic clears and lower level mythic keys, as in like the 20s or 30s and that sort. The long and short of it is I want to reassure you that as long as your goals are mostly reasonable, you can get in on the remix when you want. You can jump in and out and whatever and still come away with a good experience and a bunch of rewards. Once the remix does go live, of course, you're going to see some regular coverage from me on like changes and tips and the exploits you probably missed out on and so on and so forth. What I'm curious about is this new phase called Infinite Echoes that starts December 9th, because technically this phase will begin 9 weeks after 11.2.5 launches, so it certainly sounds like more is coming in the remix that we don't really know about yet. Technically, we've only tested one phase of the remix. We don't know how the behavior of Legion Assault is going to be, or like Broken Shore or Argus. We don't know what's up there. It makes me wonder what else might be coming, and very important, who knows what remix content updates are coming in 11.2.7, because that's going to be a thing, and data mining for that is like still weeks and weeks away. I do have one prediction to make though. A while back, a PTR build revealed a Legion meta achievement, but it was quickly pulled away. Now I wonder if this meta will be added for 11.2.7 and can be cleared using our remix characters. I'm thinking like, hey, why not? Now, of course, this meta can and should be able to be completed after the remix is over, but I think this would make for a pretty interesting approach. And there's also the question of what would we get from this meta? It might be very, very cool. It could be like an artifact weapon skin kind of cool, but we shouldn't really get our hopes up. Let's circle back a second and talk up the turbo boost, which is already getting an early start with this upcoming patch, and my guesstimate is the actual turbo boost with the Valor Stone trading and the crest caps being lifted, that's going to happen 2 weeks in, at the same time the Legion remix enters phase 2. So how did I come to this conclusion? In Season 2 of The War Within, the turbo boost kicked in 10 weeks into the season. 10 weeks into Season 3 falls on the week of October 21st. Again, 2 weeks into this upcoming patch, so it all lines up pretty nicely. It's a nice little gesture for the higher performing folk to get access to those item level tracks right away because, I mean, what else are they going to do with their gilded? This also lines up with another throughput increase from the Manaforge Vandal's Renown thing to help them fill out the Hall of Fame before things really cut loose with the real start of the turbo boost. What seems unfortunate so far is that the returning chip vendors are looking like they're going to follow the Season 2 rules of gearing, as in we're going to be able to purchase hero track gear right away with these chips, but myth track gear is going to be reserved for the worthy. And I'm not so good on that, considering this is going to be the end of the expansion, and it's no big deal. I mean, let folks get the long upgrade track like they had for Shadowlands and Dragonflight and push those, 3 pieces of gear to mythic level? I mean, it doesn't sound like that's going to ruin the game. So while the remix and the turbo boost are underway, the PTR, it's not going to be sleeping. We're going to be learning about patch 11.2.7, which marks the final milestone of the 2025 War Within roadmap. Story and quest content are coming to lead us into midnight, as well as player housing. I wonder if it's going to be testable on the PTR because, well, pretty much any time now, midnight alpha coverage will begin. There are a lot of questions we still don't have answers to, and we just need some real hands-on discovery. The most important testing for housing isn't going to be happening on the alpha. It can, or it should be happening on the PTR, which everyone is going to have access to. There's only so much playtesting that happened between the Media Summit in May and Gamescom in August. The PTR is an opportunity for a ton of people to give input on what I think is most critical: controls and accessibility. Early access itself, of course, is going to be a months-long window for testing and feedback, but just like how Blizzard has been sharing housing information over the past year, the earlier we can check things out, the better things can get for the actual launch. So October and November are going to be very busy with a remix and turbo boost on the live side with a sprinkle of holiday stuff, and the alpha and the PTR on the testing side. The spooky event, it was announced back in May, that still seems to be MIA, so maybe it's been canceled, or maybe it just turns out it's going to be a very tiny event. But at any rate, it's not like they really hyped it up anyway. Early December is the beginning of the end for the Legion Remix and War Within 2, with what certainly seems like its final content patch, and what feels like is going to be like the next gold rush for WoW content creators with housing early access. We're going to see some old and fresh faces entering the content creation scene to produce housing-specific content. And I can't understate how the introduction of sandboxy user-generated content is going to change the landscape of World of Warcraft. Now, content-wise, I'm not talking about, hey, here's where to find things, or here's what's coming. Like, that's boring stuff. That's what I do. I'm talking about tutorials on building techniques and ways to manipulate objects into looking like something else, or quick build challenge videos and housing competitions to spotlight a new kind of pro WoW gamer, the decorator, designer kind of person. So this is going to be super exciting, and I hope you'll join me as we find out how this channel is going to adjust and evolve now that this dog has caught the car, or, the hunter no longer has something to hunt. Skipping way ahead though, we're still looking at a launch window of early March for Midnight, give or take a few weeks. We're going to switch gears real hard. After doing some keys for the first time this season, including my very first 10 this expansion, I think I have a platform of experience to give feedback on. I'm joking, but also I do think I have some feedback from the perspective of someone who's trying to, inch their way into higher level keys as a tank, but are meeting challenges. Now, I'm going to take my time bloviating with this one because I've got a lot of thoughts on this one. Please bear with me. Now, y'all might be seeing it, but there's no shortage of anecdotes and posts being shared on forums and social media, folks talking about the pressures of being a tank and the tacked-on responsibility of managing a route for the team to ensure timing a dungeon efficiently and safely. Routes matter much more at higher level keys, but the idea of it, even at lower levels, it's been enough to scare a number of folks away. To be fair, in today's WoW, there are solutions to routes, right? There are tools and regularly updated guides from folks trying to find the best route through a dungeon, and there are add-ons to help manage how to handle dangerous mobs and so much more. Tanks use these as maps to navigate the group, and there have been plenty of suggestions to use auto marks or arrows like a TomTom for dungeon pulls. That way gamers can inch closer to their goal of comfortably never talking to the group. More seriously though, the problems some are pointing out are how these tools replace learning, and they seem too essential for gameplay. Anecdotally, I happen to take a different approach. I just ask someone else whose experience I have them lead, and they point and I tank, or they tap pulls for me because 40 yards is greater than 30 and I'll just grab them. And after all, delegation is good leadership too, and really no add-on can replace the social solution, familiarity and coordination as a group. Anyway, something that's always bothered me but I've never really talked about much is the required enemy count in the dungeon. Now, I have no problem with it existing, but it's impossible to easily understand the count at a glance, and that quickly translates into frustration for less experienced tanks like myself. In a given run, you've got to select not just the right packs, but you got to math it out so you get the right count, otherwise you overpull and you risk losing time. The big problem is every mob type contributes a different value towards the count, and you don't know what it is, meaning there's no way of immediately knowing how much a mob is worth until Well, basically someone else tests this out and puts it into a tool or an add-on to share with others, hence that immediate dependency on add-ons or external tools. This has little to do with the actual difficulty of the dungeon, the affixes, or the key level. It's just that learning these values isn't fun, at least for me, or I have to rely on an add-on that has all the answers for me. It's kind of wild seeing the duality here, because we hear lots of outcry from gamers who want to put an end to the dependence or the over-dependence on add-ons for like some more difficult encounters or situations. But we also get lots of outcry from Mythic Plus World who wants routes to be built into the game because there's no room for thinking. Now, I do respect the concept of a route. Something like this is unavoidable in a game mode where part of the measurement of skill is how quickly you can complete a dungeon and have to clear a lot of trash, otherwise we would just like stealth our way to bosses. So I gotta share this take as someone who wants an easier way to learn how to do keys with no add-ons, no maps, and no external help, which is a nice platitude, but now let's get more specific. I propose a few big changes. These are just ideas to use as a jumping off point. The first is to rethink the idea of counting individual mobs. I think the game should stop doing that and instead count entire packs of mobs. So I'm going to make up some numbers, but let's say we need to meet a count of 30. That is, you need to defeat 30 packs in a given dungeon. The number of packs needed might be different for each one, that's fine, as long as that number is nice and clear for all the players. So this pack here on screen, that's going to have a value of 1. This pack over there, also 1. This pack here in this shot is linked to all of these, I guess, and will actually aggro all together, and that all has a value of 1 once it's cleared. That super beefy mod that you have to kill anyway because it's how you clear the dungeon, that'll also have a value of 1. And this kind of mini-boss with the extras with the pews, that's also going to have a value of 1. The aim here isn't to make keys like easier or face roll, just easier to learn and understand. As a consequence to this approach though, dungeon trash is probably going to need a big overhaul as well, like doing away with non-elite trash or make it so that they automatically pull with a pack and then all of that has that value of 1. Knowing the value of a pack being the same allows for what I'd like to think is a better learning experience. In that whole learning phase, a group can go through and clear all the unavoidable packs in a dungeon, and then once that's done, they can get a measure of which other packs to pull based on maybe how difficult they are, how easy it is to pull multiples at once, or the group comp, or if the cooldowns that you have in your group will line up for a big pull every few minutes, which is what gamers do now. I'm not asking for that to change, it's just that they no longer have to factor in mobs having different values as well. It's just easier to set up with one less variable. On the development side, Blizzard has a new tool. They can now tune dungeons on a per pack basis. So what I mean by that is that they can tune damage and health numbers as usual, but now they can also look at a given pack and add or subtract mobs from them, knowing that it's not going to make an actual difference in the value of that pack. I've been listening to solutions, like I said, hey, maybe we should build routes into the game or at least show the percentage values on mobs. I think that works as a band-aid, but personally, I don't think the visual clutter would make the experience better, and changes should be happening at a deeper or more fundamental level. I'd like to think that we're pushing forward to make World of Warcraft feel a little bit less reliant on add-ons. Part of that is changing encounter and dungeon design in such a way to create experiences that are still challenging, where third-party tools help, but they're not essential to the experience. And that's the show. With a bit over 2 weeks until the patch, it feels, to me at least, like WoW's about to ramp up on the activities. Not everyone's gonna be into the Legion remix or housing, but I've made it clear I certainly am. So between that and raids, I'm definitely going to be engaged. The Midnight Alpha is imminent. I'm going to be very focused on that before a player housing ruins me over the holidays, and we'll be writing all that up to the pre-patch where all that's going on, and then Midnight's launch, and then the start of Season 1, and working with some more housing stuff, and endeavors, and so on and so forth, and then suddenly it's April. So I hope you drop by every now and then to hang with me for what's going to be a heck of a journey, and enjoy the rest while you can. Let's give a big thanks to folks who've been giving lots of support over the past few weeks. I'm glad I'm feeling better and thankful that I can continue helping WoW be that small reprieve from the interesting times we live in. Yeah. Folks on Twitch and Patreon, thank you so much. And thanks to you, viewer, you made it to the end. You fed the algorithm. Now, if you could please like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.